Is a body quasi-property? My least favorite question in all of law school is, what should I write on the exam? That's just my least favorite question, which is why if you're asking that question, I really wonder, were you in the class, right? The answer in an exam is whatever you want it to be. I can go either way. If your answer is a body's property, good, defend it. If your answer is a body's quasi-property, good, defend it. If your answer is body is not property, good, defend it. Give you enough arguments, enough pieces of reasoning, all the above. Which is again why there's no multiple choice exam in this class. I think that would be unfair. It wouldn't even conceivably work because there's not one right answer. There are about 80 of you here. I'll get 80 different answers to the exam, and all be fair. Well, as long as you back it up, right? As long as you have the goods, right? You can back up your answer, put whatever you want. The why is what's important. The X is, anyone can do X, right? Open book exam. X is right there in your notes. It's the why that matters. Does that make sense? All right, so if you ever saying, my God, what was supposed to take away from this class? The reason why you're probably uncertain is there were many different ways to approach it and not a single clear, bright line rule. When you're talking about the body, there's no one right answer. That does not exist. All right, other questions? No? Okay. Well, let's move on. I also called it what is property, right? If you think about the first, 5 classes so far, we've been focusing on how do you get property. You can conquer people. You can discover territory. You can capture wild fugitive resources, right? You can create stuff by mixing your labor. Maybe you have property in your body, maybe you don't. We don't know. But all of those topics were based on a presumption that you know what property is. But now we're actually going to start talking about what property actually is. And property is not like a fixed concept, like a ball or something, right? Or a pencil or a marker. Property is consisting of different features or attributes. And this image we developed, this bundle of sticks. Where are my sticks? They're always right behind me. We think of different ways of defining what property is. So can you buy property? Can you sell property? Can you invite people onto your property? Can you exclude people from your property? Could you lease your property? Right? Could you leave land for your heirs to inherit? Right? Could you leave land to inherit people outside of your bloodline? Right? These are things which perhaps all take for granted. But virtually all property that anyone has is restricted in various regards. You can't always do whatever you want with it. Can you build a factory on your property? Can you pollute from your property? Can you divert water from your property so your neighbors don't get access to water? Right? Can you mine for oil on your property? Right? Can you extract resources from your property? Can you fly an airplane over someone's property? A drone, right? Property is a very complex concept, and the bundle of sticks is just one way of understanding it. Okay? So when you have this concept of the bundle of sticks, it's very rare that a person has all the sticks in the bundle, right? Most people have a lot of the sticks. But it's very rare that you can do whatever you want to your land, right? There are laws against pollution, right? There are laws against nuisance, right? You can't use your land to injure your neighbor. There's laws against overcrowding. You can't build an apartment complex in a residential neighborhood in most places. Houston you could, but in most places you couldn't, right? Very few cases is a land completely unencumbered, right? So you have this bundle of sticks, right? This fixed bundle of some size. If you don't have a particular right, then someone else does, right? Or the government might take it away from you and say, no one has this right altogether. With me so far. So today we're focusing on one of the sticks in the bundle, right? one of the sticks in the bundle. And that's called the right to exclude. The right to exclude. It's said in the cases that the most essential stick in the bundle is this right to exclude. Okay? Why? Okay? Why is the right to exclude the most essential stick in the bundle? All right, let's start calling up people. Who's up next? Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. You remember you're on deck last class. Okay, good. Thank you. Austin, why would we say that the right to exclude is the most essential stick in this bundle?
Well, it kind of helps to establish who owns what in a sense.
Okay, tell me more.
So it's one of those helps distinguish ownership. If anybody's allowed to come onto your property, then it's really tough to tell who owns that property.
So let's say you own a plot of land and you can't keep anyone off it. Anyone who wants to come on can go to Austin's house, right? Is that property?
Not really, no.
So Margot and Christina can just start hanging out whenever they want and you can't kick them out.
It's not really property.
So whose is it then?
You don't know. I mean, it's just kind of there.
All right, so good. So this idea of the right to exclude is a fairly simple concept, right? If I can't keep people off my land, that's a good argument that this isn't my land at all, right? My land is defined by who I'm allowed to invite. Maybe Austin invites Margot and Christina to his land, and they're allowed to come on and hang out, but that's his choice. But without this right to exclude, it's hard to define who owns what. You put up fences, they put up boundaries, right? If a trespasser comes, they call the police, precisely because it's their right to exclude. But it's not just someone coming into your house, it's also someone coming onto your land, which is a theme of the first case, right? A trespass, as you all, I won't make someone stand up and recite it. Was it Cooper land? Yeah, you're good. I'm not gonna make you recite what's a trespass. So you're fine today, right? But the idea of a trespass, I mean, I never thought of it this way, is the right to exclude, right? You're saying, this is my boundary, this is my property, you've entered my boundary, I did not give you license, I did not give you permission, get out or I will sue you or have you arrested for a trespass. Again, the basis of the trespass is the right of exclusion. Think of another example, right? Avani, let me ask this one. What case have we studied this year where parties did not have a right of exclusion? Think of a case. Where someone had a property interest, but they did not have a right of exclusion. A couple answers, actually. I asked questions fairly broadly. Okay, Pearson, how Pearson have right to exclude?
Because since he was chasing his fox, it was like his property.
Ah, so the hunter wanted to exclude the farmer from taking his fox. Okay. What do you think, Brianna? What case involved a party seeking to exclude someone from their property?
Was it the first case, Johnson?
That's what I was thinking of. Okay, tell me about Johnson.
So, basically, Europeans came to America, got their independence, and then they were saying that they should us the land, and so they had the right to exclude the natives from it, or the right to allow them to occupy it.
Excellent. Right. So the natives were allowed to occupy it, but cannot exclude.
Right.
Okay, good. Right. So Johnson was also another example. The Indians had one stick in the bundle, right? They could occupy the land, but they cannot exclude others from it. And that proved to be a very weak stick in the bundle, right? They couldn't exclude the Americans, and they lost their land altogether. Rodney, let's try another case we've done involving exclusion. You're going to start sensing a pattern real soon. You guys get it.
Well, you could argue really a lot of cases, honestly.
All the above. That's the answer. Every semester that exclusion. Every single case. Give me that one, Rodney.
Well, you go with Yashi,
Hayashi, who gets the baseball, right? The minor his. Yeah.
you know, you got Pickeringle,
Pickeringle, whose ducks are they, right? Minor his.
right?
Really, all of them.
Yeah.
INS versus AP, right? Who can tell the story of the news? Every case that we've done this semester can be characterized as one party trying to exclude another party from their stuff, whether it's a duck, a whale, a fox, a story in the newspaper, from your cells, right? More. He was trying to exclude people from using his cells. Every case we studied this semester, we're now 3 weeks in, is about the right to exclude. Sensing a pattern here, right? This right to exclude is pretty darn important. The purpose, though, of this class is to give you a second glance at this topic, right? The purpose of this class is to make you sort of think, is this right of exclusion necessarily correct? Is this right of exclusion such an easy rule, right? Is this right of exclusion something to be enforced in all circumstances? The two cases they're reading for today usually make for quite excellent discussion. Usually it's a very good discussion class. But it makes you think of, wait a minute, should the government, should the courts be so aggressively involved in excluding? All right. All right. I want to ask, where's the poll? I'm sorry, the wrong sheet. Class B, there you are. All right, so we asked 3 questions of you all. And then we'll just ask them back to back. We can't see them all at once, but we'll get the idea. All right, so question number 1. Here. Question number 1. Question number 2, I'll do them back to back. Okay, question number 1. Do you agree? I'm sorry. Step 2. Do you agree with majority opinion in the first case, Jacques, actually, it's not plural, Jacques versus Steenberg? Yes or no? Okay, that should be enough. All right, I'm not going to ask, I'll just jump to the next one, okay? Question number 2. Do you agree with majority opinion in our second case, State versus Shack? That's number 2. Okay, another 5 seconds or so. Okay, just about 70. Okay. All right, and then question number 3, please. Which of the following best describes your position? A, I agree with the majority in Jacques and Shack. B, I agree with the majority in Jacques, but not Shack. C, I agree with the majority in Shack, but not Jacques. Okay, another 5 seconds or so. I'm going to stop the All right, let's see what we got. Wow, okay. So this is pretty split, just about evenly, right? 90% of you agree with the majority in Jacques, the trailer case. Okay. And just about the same number agree with the majority in the migrant worker case. Usually, actually, these are more even, so it's a little bit different what I usually get. And somehow, we're gonna have to explore this. 80% of you agree with both Jacques and Shaq. That number is usually not so high. Usually, it's more B, right? Usually, B is the majority. It's, well, I like this case, but I don't like this case. Fascinating. We're gonna have to dig into this. All right, Miranda. So let's just start with question 3. What was your position here? Question 3. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over Ben. He's looking around. No,
go ahead.
No. I would not deny you the joy of answering this question. Now, Miranda, you have 30 seconds. You get a reprieve. All right, I'm sorry, Ben. What do you put for question number 3, please?
I agree with both opinions.
All right. How do you reconcile liking both A and B? Number 1 and number 2.
So to me, in both cases, one, I guess I reconcile with the circumstances and motivation behind the right to exclude in both cases. So in the first one, the right to exclude was to protect property value. And they had good evidence and, good argument as to what which we saw. And then in Shaq, the way I thought about it is, I can believe people have their inalienable rights, and a property right shouldn't disallow someone from having their right to life and liberty to also essentially.
Okay, Miranda, what'd you put?
I agreed. I said.
You put both A. Okay, how did you reconcile those two decisions?
For the first one, for Jacques, you have to be able to protect landowners' rights somehow. And if you just do nominal damages, then people are just going to trespass as they please because there's no loss involved.
Okay.
And for Shaq, I believe that there's certain special circumstances where you can't exclude people's rights to certain things. And if he's willing to let these people live on their land, and he has to be willing to let them receive help. So.
Okay. All right. So I want to hear people put either B or C to this one. I want to hear the people who split their votes. Tiffany? Brett, I'll come back to you. I promise. You're up next. So Tiffany, what'd you put here?
I put C.
Okay. So you agree with Shaq, but you do not agree with the Jacques Trailer case.
Yes.
Okay. Just walk me through your thinking, please.
So with the genre case, for the most part, I do agree with the rationale. However, I feel like there are circumstances under which we should give, I guess, trespassers an opportunity to trespass. Like in this case, it was very difficult to take the.
You think the
route.
trespass was justified here?
Yes, because it's a very difficult route. Like there could be a lot of potential risk of injury to the workers who are moving on a long winding road.
The big heavy trailer, right?
And they took every possible attempt to try to talk to the owners, willing to pay them, and try to work out a deal such that they could safely deliver the home. And so I feel like in this exception, or in this case, the rationale behind trying to have a legal opportunity to litigate, but it's not to prevent people from taking the law into their own hands. But there should still be some exceptions.
Fascinating. Okay, so you'll allow the migrant workers to get their treatment, but you won't allow and you would allow the trail company to go across the property.
Yes.
That's it. Who else split their answers? There are only about 10 of you. Anyone? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see the side. Yeah, I can't even. How'd you split your answers?
I put B.
Okay.
Well, in Jack, I say that the right to exclude, I
I'd agree with the majority opinion there because the owner just basically told them, it's like, hey, you can't come onto my land. You can't drive all the way through my land. You're gonna destroy the property, plowing snow away. And then there's a road that they could have gone through, which it says in the case that they could have done it. It just would have been costly and
potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
You raise a fair point.
but they always had the option of just canceling the order.
Or they could wait till the snow melted. Well, I know in Wisconsin when snow melts, might be a while. We're gonna have to do sprinkling on Thursday, we're gonna partially shut down. Anyone else put either B or C here that wants to volunteer? Yeah, go ahead, Tatiana.
I think C.
Okay, so you agree with the New Jersey court, but you disagree with the Wisconsin court, right? Okay, tell us why.
In the Jacques case, I also agree with the rationale. I think we should have the right to exclude, but I don't agree with the $100,000.
You think the damage was too high?
Especially because there was no damage done to the property.
Okay.
I don't know how you would remedy that because like the nominal damages paid and.
$1.
So that's kind of long.
Okay, you're divided. Okay, okay, so we have a couple C's. Everyone else with B. Yeah, Mar and then Jacob. Right?
I said B because I thought in Jack, they could always just like, not the medical care they could let him get on there, but the legal advice, they could have just left the property if they wanted to and time to, because like what I thought of, and they should have, like, the property owner should have the right to just have the right to this property no matter who's on it.
Okay, Jacob, what do you think?
I put B because there's this specific quote in the opinion of the Jacques case where they say the right to property has no practical meaning unless protected by the state. And it seems sort of contradictory to me that right can be violated by the state. And so
you think the New Jersey court is actually violating the basic principles of property? It's right to exclude. Anyone else put B or C here? Only about I guess 12 of you actually put B or C, so it's a very much small minority. This is actually fascinating. I'm going to see what happens in the afternoon. Usually students split on this one a lot more. They like one, not the other. But maybe Ben and Rodney and a few other, Miranda, I think, kind of reconcile these two opinions. Brett, do you want to go? You were next. Just raise your hand.
I put A, but I can.
Please tell us why you put A. Go ahead. You're next anyway.
Sure. I think the court's reasoning was pretty sound on A. The owner had a right to protect his property from trespassers.
Right.
They also talked about he had prior issue with adverse possession of his
Ooh.
property, so that kind of factored into it, not wanting them to cross.
What's adverse possession? Sorry, you brought it up.
My understanding, it's kind of like squatters' rights,
Okay.
where somebody does trespass on your property and you don't do anything about it, then you could potentially lose ownership.
Okay. Yeah, you'll do property, I'm sorry, in property 2 in the fall, we'll study adverse possession. Adverse possession is a way of acquiring property, basically trespassing. If you continuously trespass on someone's property for a certain period of time, you actually, right, if I walked across your lot every day for a decade, and you know I was doing it, you didn't stop me, I actually get a legal right to cross your property. You'll think it's unfair. You'll do it next semester, probably, but that's fair point. Okay. Anyone else want to do B or C or A? Anyone else want to volunteer? What they put? Yeah, it's usually not this lopsided. So I don't know what we'll have in the afternoon class. We'll see what they put, but this is just fascinating. I'm going to ask the question again, though, at the end of the class after we discuss, see if anyone changes their mind. Sometimes people change their mind. Yes, Brianna, go ahead.
I'm kind of going off of what Susan said earlier. I think she was kind of getting at the necessity.
Necessity. Okay. Remind us. I'm sorry. What necessity is? I was going to answer later. But I'll do it now. What's necessity?
So necessity would be one of the defenses to trespass.
Good. You remember from one out. Good.
But part of necessity is that it has to be like a dire need
Yeah.
for it. And so, like you were saying earlier, why couldn't they just have waited? Why couldn't they have canceled the order? There were so many things that they could have done besides go up that trail.
Good. Yeah, I just have one necessity, sir. It's a bad example, but when I was living in I was clerking in Western Pennsylvania with actually real snow. It was really snowy. And I got to my car one day in a parking lot, and I turned my wipers on, which you should never do when it's snowing. And when they were frozen, they just snapped off. So I mean, imagine, right, the wipers are frozen in place, and think about it, and it just snapped off. So you can't drive through a blizzard in the snow. It's not possible. It's dangerous. And I had my car in the middle of a lot, and it was cold. So somehow I managed to drive to a Walmart, which was nearby. I got a thing of wipers. Trying to replace windshield wipers in a blizzard is almost impossible. You have to, the little hooks. You have to hook them on. Your fingers are freezing. It's very cold, and I couldn't see a damn thing. So somehow I drove, which I shouldn't have even done. I should just stay put, to a drive-through ATM, which had the canopy, and I was able to install the wipers under their canopy. Thinking, well, Josh, you're trespassing my necessity doctrine. I was actually like running through my head, like, okay, because I know business at the bank. I wasn't a member there. I know business there, but I need their canopy. So could I have just waited till the blizzard, finished in my car for a couple hours? Maybe. I've been really cold. My dog and I've been happy. But maybe, yeah. But yeah, snow sucks. We had that. How much we had in February last year? Like this much snow, and then the entire city shut down for a month. It seemed like it. We never lost power, thankfully. We lost water though for a couple of days. That sucked. But some of our professors actually had pipes that burst. Yeah, wrap up your pipes. Like I did this last year, and I'm actually grateful. But just put like rags around your pipes for outside, and like it takes you 5 minutes. Also, let your water drip a little bit, just a little drip. And then I learned that lesson last year. Okay, so let's do Jacques. Tiffany, you're up. Tiffany, do you want to give us the facts in Jacques, please?
So basically, Josh is a landowner.
Okay.
And the defendants are the mobile home company. We look at them.
Okay.
The landowners refuse to let the defendants join onto their property to deliver the home.
You say a little bit louder. It's hard to hear the other side.
So they refuse to let the company or the defendants travel across their land to deliver mobile homes.
Okay, let's just pause. Why? First off, we already said this. Let's make it clear. Why did the company wish to trespass across the land of the shops?
Because it was snowy, and so it would have been potentially more dangerous to take the windy main road than to just go straight across the.
Okay, right. Okay, very good. So Nick, we have this scene they described in the case where the manager walks into the home of the Jacques and says, "Can I please touch your property?" And just describe the scene. It's actually kind of comical. He's trying to recreate it in your head.
So basically what I gathered from that was that he was just kind of wanting to go across the land, and he asked Mr. Jacques, I believe, and he kind of said, really no money in the world is going to make me.
No money? He said, how much will this cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's his response?
It's just no money, nothing.
Nothing, right? And let me just I want to thank you, Tiffany, Nick. Let me just pause here. Usually, very gross, but true. Everyone has a price. There's a price for everyone, right? When he says no money in the world, everyone has a price. You just don't know what that price is. Nick, you think if they gave $100,000, you would say, yeah, it's just you can go?
I believe that would probably be enough.
Yeah, after a certain point, I say, well, principles, right? I know it sounds grotesque, but everyone has a price. It might be a really high price, right? But it's very rare. I mean, maybe there's some people that are like, no, there's no price, and they mean it. There's a price, right? But whatever the price you're giving was not what the guy wanted, right? A couple $100 maybe $50, $100, whatever it is. But he's like, there's no price. Okay. Did I do everyone? I did the entire class? Good. Nicholas, back to you. So Nicholas, what did the manager tell his guys after the exchange in the Jacques house?
He told his employees that he didn't care what Jacques said.
Yeah, use an expletive, so he didn't.
Yeah.
Like that, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why do you think, Nicholas, the manager really didn't care what the Jacques had to say here?
It's saving money, and he's selling a mobile home.
So okay, he already committed to sell this home, right? And just I want to pause, just another element. This is someone's house, right? I mean, so Tiffany and Brianne said, why don't you just delay the shipment of the house? Maybe someone was supposed to live there, and maybe they have nowhere to live, to be a person without a home for a winter. I mean, we don't. I don't want to be crass, but generally people living in trailer homes are not the wealthiest people, right? They don't always have, oh, I'll just go live in my summer home, like in Key West, right? No, this is a person living in a trailer home in Wisconsin. This is maybe a farmer, maybe someone else who wasn't that well to do. So the facts here are unclear. So maybe Steenberg had to deliver the home by a certain date. The person had a house to live in the middle of the winter. We don't actually know the specifics. All right, so Nicholas is right. The company told his men, blank them, right? Forget them, right? Don't care what they say. Go ahead and travel across it. And the facts say that it would have been very dangerous. I think Tiffany makes this point well, to actually try to cut across the snowy road, because you have to use these basically these bobcats, right? These little trucks that can help move snow, and it's at an angle. You ever actually seen a trailer being transported? That's what rollers on the side, so it doesn't tip over if it hits the snow. Because that thing tips over, the entire truck will jackknife. So it's actually very difficult to transport this in normal conditions because such a wide load. So it's impossible. Meanwhile, Jacques has this lovely field. It's level, nice and smooth, and they can just drive clear across it. Now, Will, let me ask you a question, please. What was the manager thinking when he told his guys to just? What do you think was going through his head?
He probably was thinking the homeowner wouldn't really care that much if he did it from himself.
Right, get a $30 citation. Who cares, right? It's with the cost of delivery. Do you think he thought he was? Do you think the manager worried he was getting a $100,000 award of damages? No way. Okay. So he tells his guys to drive across the lot. Now, look, Mr. Jacques called the cops, right? But Kinsey, what could Jacques have done short of calling the cops? Let's make this a criminal case instead of a property case.
Like initially,
Once they start driving, what could he have done?
legally,
I'm asking you a question. You're fighting my question?
I guess he could have like physically tried to stop them.
Well, what do you call that when physically stopping a person?
Like battery. I don't know.
Yeah, battery. Yeah, you're throwing double A's at them. No, I mean, what would you have done? Just you shot him, right? That's what I'm getting. You could use self-help. Thank Kinsey. I'm sorry. Maybe that was unfair. I'm sorry. Right. He starts throwing double A's. Right. He could have shot him, right? And if there's, I don't know if you'd say this in torts, but if there's a trespass, you can repel an invader with lethal force. With human within his right to shoot them, right? The basis of the self-defense action on your property is the right to exclude. I want you to just pause on that just for a moment, right? Why do we allow people to shoot people on their property? Because the right to exclude is such an important stick in the bundle. I mean, that's the basis of self-defense on your property. No duty to retreat, right? Or it depends on what jurisdiction you're in. There's usually not a duty to retreat in the house. I mean, you also could have shot the guy's tires, right? He could have done some really bad stuff, and that would have been his right. All right, so let's just pause for it. All right, so the guy's across. Jacques does not call the cop, does not fire his gun. Good, he calls the police. Good, right? Not self-help. We don't want to do self-help. Engages in the police. Paige, what happens when the cop shows up?
The cops show up to Jacques' house.
Yeah, what happens? What do the police do?
I mean, they give a citation.
Give a citation. What's a citation?
It's basically saying you did this, so we're gonna fine you.
How much was the fine?
$30.
You think Steenberg cared about $30?
No.
You think he was willing to accept, just pay it?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, sometimes you get a parking ticket, but you don't care because the parking ticket's only a few bucks and you don't have time to find a parking spot. Whatever happened then? Whenever you couldn't get to the meter. When they have these apps, you just update the time rolling. But before that, right, you couldn't get to the meter in time. You're just willing to go risk to get a parking ticket. All right, same thing here, right? Jacques like, whatever. Mr. Steenberg's like, whatever, I'll pay $30. But then he gets sued for a trespass. He gets sued for a trespass. So let's just break this down for a minute. Christina, what were the actual damages that the Jacques family incurred because of this trespass?
It looks like there weren't any physical damages.
Does driving across a snowy field, Christina, cause any actual damage?
They might have moved around some dirt, but it's unlikely that the damage was agricultural.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think you actually anticipated my next question, which is good. At most, right? At most, maybe they left some tire tracks on the soil, right? Maybe they moved some dirt around. If they drove across the field in the summer and destroyed crops, damages, right? We all agree with that. There's actual damage there. But really, to do this in the winter, when there's a lot of thick packed snow, you just drive across. Maybe there were chains in the tires and they kicked up mud. I don't know, but we're talking very little actual damages. So Leah, when Mr. Jacques brought this lawsuit, I'm sure he was aware of no actual damage, right? He knew that, right?
Right.
So why he brought this lawsuit? What was he seeking to obtain?
To protect his interest of his land being private
And how does he protect his interests?
by bringing against.
And seeking?
um,
Again, Jacques knew he would not get actual damages here, right? Because there was no actual damages.
Oh,
So what was he trying to seek?
punitive damages.
Okay, very good. Jen, help us out. What are punitive damages?
Punitive damages are kind of like reprimands, so it
Or kind of like what?
reprimands,
Reprimand.
so it stops individuals or discourages them from doing the same action
Okay, and how do they stop people from doing a certain action?
by fining them a higher amount than like punitive or actual, than nominal or actual damages.
Okay, very good. All right, so punitive damage, I'm sure you did this in torts, right, in other classes. Punitive damage is not about making a person whole, right? That's what you call compensatory damage or actual damage. The purpose of a punitive damage is, as the name suggests, to punish, right? Punitive punish, right? And not just punishing the tortfeasor, right? The person who did X. It's about sending a signal, a message to society as a whole. It's a way of saying that this conduct is so gross, so disproportionate, that we will not tolerate it. And you, tortfeasor, are the unlucky person who did it, and you're going to have to pay the price for everyone else. We're going to hit you with an award that's so substantial that you're going to feel the pain of what you did. And others who are considering similar actions in the future will know what awaits them. They'll know that if they do the same thing you did, their pocket will be burned. They're going to be stuck with a huge award of damages. And with punitive damages, there's no requirement to quantify it. Right? Is that Brianna? Brianna. Okay, Brianna. Brianna. I'm getting it. Brianna, let me ask this question, please. Have you ever been in a jury?
No.
Okay, let's pretend you're in a jury for a minute. Right? You're in the jury in this case. How on earth do you come up with a number for damages or punitives?
I guess I would kind of think how I feel in that situation and what kind of reward or punishment I would want.
Oh man, does the jury have any discretion or any guidance what to do for? I mean, but at least with actual damages, you have bills, right? You have invoices. You have here's the damage to the crops. You can measure that somewhat. How on earth, Brianna, do you quantify damages to punitive damages? How on earth do you quantify that?
I guess I don't know. I was gonna say pissed off. How angry they are, or
How pissed off? No, you can say that. You're allowed. That's your law school. That's okay. You're not kindergarten. How pissed off are you? Yeah. Man, telling a jury, how much money based on how pissed off you are. That could be a lot of money. Because you'd be pissed off at this case, right? Sophia, how on earth you're sitting on a jury, Sophia. How on earth do you calculate punitive damages other than how pissed off you are?
I guess it would be kind of like a combination of like, how much do you think the plaintiff values this right?
Oh, that's interesting. So how much did how much did the Steenberg Homes benefit from trespassing?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So maybe what the delivery cost would have been, I mean, how would you even measure that?
And then, also looking at like how the homeowner values like their right for them to not, like clearly this was something that they valued if they're willing to go through all of these hoops.
You get $1 in actual damages, right?
So clearly this is something that is important to them and they hold a very high value to, so you probably consider that. And then look at the defendant and be like, what's a number that would really like inconvenience them?
Oh, to make them hurt, make them feel
because
pain.
if the goal is to
So do
punish
you
them-
look at the assets of the defendant, of the tortfeasor, of how much money they have when you're deciding a punitive damage award? So if it's a small business, you don't care as much. If it's a bigger business, you hit them hard.
Kind of, I guess.
And what about, because of this damage award, they have to play off all the workers? Does that factor into your Sophia juror? Because I mean, $100,000 award, that may just put them out of business. They'd be like, we don't have insurance, we're shutting down. Sorry, guys, you're out of work. Farmer gets $100,000, windfall, and my workers are laid off for the season.
I guess that's the point of the punitive part.
Yeah. So you're not just punishing the tort fees, you're punishing even the guys who work for him, who had nothing to do with this. Brianna, one more. How do you're on the jury, right? How do you go ahead and calculate punitive damage award? What are you thinking about?
Well, I'm petty.
Oh, you're petty. My goodness. Okay. I appreciate your honesty.
I would probably come up with something absurd as well. I'd probably go off of like, how much did you make from this job that you were doing? And yeah, probably something that would just make a dent.
You want to make them hurt. Maybe not be put out of business, but you want to make them hurt. So one of the things about punitive damage is if you're a lawyer, right, and you're arguing a trial case, just keep this in your mind. If a lawyer suggests, here's what you would award for punitive damages, the judge can declare a mistrial. Right? Lawyers are allowed to help quantify actual damages, like giving invoices and bills, things like this, right? But lawyers cannot tell a jury what to award for punitive damages. It's considered basically an automatic grant for mistrial. So if you're ever in a trial somewhere and you hear the opposing guy say, for punitive damages, I think $5 million is a good number, you're on a mistrial. Because you can't get that out of a juror's mind. Once you put that number out there, it sort of locks the juror in, and they can't fairly adjudicate punitive damages if that number's in their mind. So don't ever put a number to it, which is why I'm asking Brianna, what number do you pick? And she's like, how pissed off I am, make them hurt, what the value of the business is. Jurors do not have guidance on punitive damages. They can get rough sketches, but they can't have a number put in their head. And it's hard. Did I tell you? I had a bench trial once when I was clerking, and I had to do a damage award. I had no idea. I just had no idea what the damage award. I was like, Judge, I have no idea. Like, you have to make up a number. I'm like, okay. And he approved it, of course, but like I had to just make up a number. I'm like, I don't know. It was one of the harder things I did as a clerk because really nothing to go on. Yeah, Shadi.
On that point, it's a question. So it's like a private company. Is there a legal mechanism like for the jury to request information on financial?
Well, I'm sure the plaintiffs would put forward the financial records of the company. So, their profits of $1 million a year, they're like, oh, well, $100,000 is not a big deal for the $1 million, right? So, yeah, you can see their financials. Oh, yeah, no, you definitely see that, right? And you probably also see, to Sophia's point, how much money did they make on this particular transaction? Or how much was this trailer delivered for? My guess is the trailer is not worth $100,000, not even close. I mean, this is an old case. They're homes, but they're not the most expensive homes. All right, let's actually go through the reasoning. So, okay, Ryder, you're next. Ryder, walk through the court's reasoning. Why did the court find that a punitive damage award was permissible in this case?
The court found that punitive damages was permissible because nominal damages is pretty much they noticed that, well, it's just recognizing a legal right. But the punitive damages helps solidify and ensure that the people will not continue to do that type of behavior.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ryder. Appreciate that. Right. So that the court said the law recognizes a strong interest to exclude trespassers. Right. And they quote the Supreme Court of the United States here. They say, the right to exclude is the most essential stick in the bundle of rights. So I keep telling you over and over again, right? This right to exclude is the most essential stick in the bundle. The Jacques can tell Steenberg, you can't enter, you cannot cross. And this goes back to Tiffany's point. You don't need a good reason, right? You can exclude someone for any reason or no reason at all. And say, you know what? I don't like you. Or I don't like trailers. Or I don't care if you guys go on the highway and die. That's your problem, not mine. The court says its right is to exclude is absolute. You can pick and choose who comes onto your land. And then the court says, I think someone mentioned this before, I can't remember who, this right to exclude has no meaning, right? No practical meaning unless the state protects it. And the state protects it through the statute to trespass and through the courts enforcing the trespass statute. But then they go to what would actually discourage trespassing. The court says a $30 citation, not enough. A $1 worth of nominal damages, not enough. The only thing that will deter conduct in the future is award of punitive damages. And the court says $100,000 will encourage, that's where they use, encourage Steenberg to follow the law. They are removing the profit from trespass, right? Steenberg thought, okay, whatever, I'm trespassing, it's still worth my money, right? It's a valuable way to make some money. The court says now going forward, Wisconsin, it's not going to be valuable anymore. Then the court says the $100,000 award was reasonable. The courts can say a punitive damage award is unreasonable. The courts are allowed to do that. But courts are very hesitant to second guess a jury award. Now, Laura, this case was probably tried somewhere in rural Wisconsin, I'm guessing. Right, yes. Yes, right? Okay, sure. Who do you think shows up for jury duty in rural Wisconsin? Farmers. So this goes back to, I think, Brianna's point a minute ago. Who do you think the jurors were more sympathetic to here? The farmer, Jacques, or this company traveling with these trailers?
Definitely not.
So how do you think that affected the jury award?
I think that they were probably pissed off on his behalf.
Right, because what do you think the juries here were worried about?
Their rights to their own property.
Ah, so they weren't just thinking about sending a message for this particular case. What do you think they were more concerned about broadly?
I think they were more concerned about protecting their property from trespassers like this one.
Bingo, exactly right. So I think this is not, again, when you have these punitive awards, the jury's not just concerned about the conflict between Jacques and Steenberg, right? The juries are worried about, what if this comes to my house, right? What if some guy shows up, wants to drive across my lawn? Get off my lawn, right? That's how punitive damages work. I think the jury here was probably made up of a bunch of farmers who lived in this region who were sympathetic to the Jacques. The court says in the end, the $100,000 award is reasonable. Never do this again, Steenberg. No more trespassing. I don't care if your men die traveling on the highway by cutting a path through 8 feet of snow. I don't care if your business goes under because you have to cancel an order after 6 months. You have to wait till the snow thaws to deliver it. Right? We don't care if someone needed that house to raise his family, but they're living in a shelter instead. Right? It just doesn't matter. All right, the end. All right, so anyone here maybe start thinking about Jacques one way, but change your mind after this case was developed? Anyone change their mind, going back to question number 1, about whether you agree with Jacques or not? No? Okay. No one else want to say anything about Jacques? That's your mind? We're going to the next case. Frere Jacques, no. Nothing? Guys, dormez-vous, you sleeping? There it is. All right. Ding dong, let's go. All right. Next case then. The next case is a little bit different. I mean, not a little bit, it's a lot different, right? I mean, going from a Wisconsin farm to a New Jersey farm, just like you're in a different world. All right, who am I up to? Jackie. Jackie, help us out here. Give me the facts, please, in our second case, State versus Shack.
Yes, okay, so in this case, we have a farmer who employs migrant workers. The defendants are,
Just was, what exactly is a migrant worker? Just make sure everyone understands what that means.
they're people that come from different countries to work for the season. They're usually paid significantly less.
Good.
And are given less rights, honestly.
Right, good. I'll just pause you. So when you say migrant and seasonal workers, let's just say there's a crop of, I don't know, strawberries, whatever, and the crop's at a certain time of the year. They come for that job, and usually move on to some other farm for another crop. All right, go ahead, Jackie.
Yes, okay, so, we had some migrant workers that, one needed medical attention and the other needed legal advice.
Good.
The defendants came onto the land to try to perform these services. The landowner basically told them that he would bring the migrant worker to him, and if he was going to give him legal advice, it had to be in his presence.
Good.
And they refused, and then Tedesco called a state trooper who refused to remove the defendants, and Tedesco brought forth this complaint.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Thank you. So we have this case, right? State versus Shack. And this is a sort of a unusual case from what you've read. And the reason why is that the facts are actually sympathetic. Most of the cases you read, it's like, I don't really care. Do you really care who gets the whale? Or do you really care who gets the fox? Do you really care who gets the baseball? No. But here, there's a good guy and a bad guy in the case, right? Maybe more you care. Maybe more as an example. But here, there's a good guy and a bad guy, right? You want to feel for the workers, and you want to hate the boss, the farm manager, right? That's just like how you read the case. Let me give you some more facts. If you don't, you may have a stronger reaction. I actually went back and I read some of the newspaper archives from this case to get a sense of what was actually going on here. So Tedesco was the owner of the farm, and he was known in the community as a very bad person, right? He was not well liked, and he treated his workers very poorly. Okay. The two aid workers who went there to get arrested, right? This wasn't an accident. This was a test case, right? We say this word test case over and over again. It was a test case. How do I know that? They had a reporter with them, right? A reporter followed them to the farm where they got arrested. So when the cop came, there's actually a picture in the New York Times of them getting arrested. So they wanted to get arrested to challenge this sort of practice of excluding workers from the farmland, right? So this was a test case, okay? When a reporter came to Mr. Tedesco and they tried to interview him, he says, quote, "I'll smash you for this. I'm going to get you for this. This is my property. You can't come looking around." Another farmer in the neighborhood said that the farmers would resort to violence to repel the aid workers. He said this violence is going to snowball. At the time, the farmers were using the trespass laws to keep the migrant workers isolated. Right? So on a given farm, there were different camps. So let's just say there's a big farm, there's Camp A, Camp B, Camp C, and Camp D. The farmers gave the workers the right to only be in one camp. So they couldn't even go from Camp A to Camp B because that'd be trespassing because they have to go in between the places, right? So the idea of the trespass is you're only allowed to go where you're given permission. And they're only given permission for this specific camp. So someone said before, why can't they just leave the farm to get whatever attention they need? Easier said than done, right? They couldn't always leave the farm because they'd be arrested for trespassing, right? Oh, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be there, right? You came back to the wrong spot. So they actually risked their livelihood if they even left the farm to get these various services provided to them. That's why they needed, that's why they said they needed people to come to give them these services, right? So they used the trespass laws to basically control their movement. On the camp, there's only one toilet. It was crawling with flies. 7 men slept in a single room. The beds had no sheets or mattress covers. Shaq went to the camp to investigate the reports. It was a 19-year-old worker who had suffered a cut on his hand while he was working. And oh, by the way, when he was cut on his hand, he couldn't earn wages. So basically, he was there, he couldn't earn any money. It was kind of in a really tough spot. The other guy, Harris, went to the camp, picked a 36-year-old migrant whose face was slashed. And he had to have the stitches removed from his face. So again, this is pretty stark facts. This is the 1970s, but just can use your imaginations. They made about $7 a week in wages. And a family of 12 slept in a single room with a bed space for 8. There's no running water. That's just kind of a sketch of what the circumstances were like on this one, which is perhaps why, go back to question number 2, it's about 90% the other way, right? The hardy 12% disagree, about 90-10, okay? Linda, all right, so let's just walk through this case, right? Why or on what authority did Shaq and Harris claim they could enter onto this farmland?
They said that they were part of like the workers from Office of Economic Opportunity, like an act from Congress, like government official.
What's the relevance of the fact that Congress funded their work? Why is that fact relevant?
And they're doing like a public service.
Sure, but when Congress gives money to these workers, does that mean they're allowed to do whatever they want?
No.
Does that mean they're allowed to trespass?
No, but they have, like, I feel like they would have special privileges.
Do they?
Or, like, yeah, I feel like government officials have immunities from a lot of things.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, I mean, that's perhaps an unfair thing to ask, but they don't actually. The government needs permission to enter your land just like anyone else. They get a warrant, perhaps, if you want to search yourself. But the mere fact that you're a government worker doesn't mean you can come onto the land whenever you want. There's a lot of discussion in this case, but the fact that Congress funds their work, it's legally irrelevant, right? Congress didn't say, well, this is such important work, we're going to let you trespass. No. But the reason why this information is useful, I think, as Linda noted, it suggests they're there for some sort of public spirit, right? They're not there to trespass or to try and make a commercial profit or to drive a trailer across their property. They are on the land to do some form of public service, something for the benefit of the public, okay? All right, so we have a trespass statute, right? We have a trespass statute. Kendall, help us out here. Does the trespass statute have an exception for public aid workers? No. But have the courts recognized exceptions to the trespass statute? We haven't mentioned before. We haven't mentioned one before. Well, I mean, that's the case, but no, but she also said that before, but she, two things today. What's an exception to the trespass doctrine that's been recognized? You said it in courts. I think you did.
The necessity.
Very good, thank you, Katie. Okay, well, okay, sorry, we're looking at the next victim. Oh, student, can I say that loud? I'm not student. Lovely student. Necessity doctrine, right? So the courts, you know, we have a trespass statute saying you cannot enter, absolute right, bundle of sticks. But it's not clear that this right was enforced so absolutely because of doctrine of necessity. So Caden will ask this question. What gave the courts the right to create a necessity defense, a necessity exception to the trespass statute?
I think that they were trying to wrap
Okay. But no, my question is a bit different. Going back, way back when, what gave the courts the power to invoke a necessity defense? Right? How could the courts even do that? Right? What gave the courts the power to recognize? I'm trying to get a better camera. Sorry. What gave the courts a better the ability to even recognize exceptions to a trespass statute?
Because the harm of not recognizing that could be greater than.
No, my question is broader. How do courts create exceptions to statutes? I have actually a very different question.
They just rule that there's an exception.
Abby, what case or what we read this semester where courts perhaps understood exceptions to statutes that were not in the statute?
I mean, a couple of them, I think. I mean, I think in like Pearson v. Post, they created exceptions.
No, I'm thinking of. I'll come back to you. Suresh, I'm thinking of?
Is it maybe the international service case?
It's not bad. That one. It was what exception did they create there?
They said that the newspaper regarded as quasi-property.
Okay, so courts create exception to a statute. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't think you have. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. What they do there? And what exception is made to the murder statute, Tatiana? Even before the cave incident, what exception was created to the murder laws from long ago? Self-defense. Self-defense. Come back to you, Abby. Why is the self-defense exception perhaps irrelevant to this case, State v. Shock? Why might that be relevant? The courts created a self-defense exception to murder. Why is it relevant here?
It's like a human rights defense. Basically, they're saying that there's property rights, but what trumps property rights are human rights.
Okay, I think you're really close. Let me ask the question a little bit differently. If someone is about to kill you and you take their life first, right? Why would you probably not be charged with the murder?
It's justified.
It's justified in what regard? Why is it justified? Tell me why.
Because you don't have the mens rea, you don't have the.
What would happen, Abby, if you decide not to exercise self-defense? What would happen?
You would die.
Would any reasonable person, would any rational person simply let themselves be killed when they had a chance to not die? Why? And just filled out. Because people try to preserve their own
life.
Okay, very good, right? So the reason why there's a self-defense exception to the murder statute is very simple, right? People won't let themselves die, right? If there's a choice between, it sounds gross, but it's true, my life and the other guy's life. As they say, better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6, right? Better be judged by a jury. I didn't make it up. Better be judged by a jury of your peers, 12 than carried by 6 pallbearers. Never heard that? Oh my goodness, yeah. Look, if you ever do self-defense work, that's a very common expression. Better be judged by 12 than carried by 6. The things you learn in law school, right? Oh God, someone's gonna say that later. Shh. Okay, calm down. Okay, I'll drop it a little bit delicately in the next class. But the reason why we have self-defense, why the court in Spelunky said we have a self-defense exception, is there's certain values that are more important than a bright line rule of murder. I think Abby was getting at this a minute ago. In Safety Shack, it's a similar situation. Yes, we have this sort of trespass statute. Yes, it's a very important stick in the bundle. Yes, it's a very important rule, but there's other values at stake here. In particular, the values, the medical treatment for the worker and also the legal treatment. By the way, I don't know if the legal treatment is as important as the medical. I've often wondered this. Trish, what do you think? Do you think there's an equal claim to the guy providing medical work and legal services each are the same?
Practically speaking, no,
You're gonna die if you don't get to a lawyer?
probably not.
Well, you might actually. So the thing was, because this wasn't the case, but I'll tell you, because the guy was injured, he couldn't work, and because he couldn't work, he didn't get wages, and if you don't get money, you usually don't eat, and you get thrown off the farm. So it could actually be a life issue. But I think as a general matter, the medical advice is probably more. If you don't get the stitches removed, you can actually have infection. The stitches dissolve. These dissolving stitches, those didn't exist back then. You have to actually get the sutures, plucked out. All right. So the court sort of says, yes, we have this bundle of sticks. It's this lovely bundle. Yes, you have this right to exclude. But the court begins and says, property rights serve human values. Property rights serve human values. And the court says, title to real property cannot include dominion, control over the destiny of people. The owner permits to come upon the premise. The court says the well-being of these people must remain the paramount concern of a system of laws. Well-being must remain the paramount concern of a system of laws. That all sounds low, right? It sounds, oh my God, that this judge is really speaking to me, right? Question. How is a judge supposed to sort of make these pronouncements? Right? There's no citation to a statute or a code or anything. They don't even say, Pufendorf, right? How's a judge supposed to sort of just say this, that, the well-beings are paramount concern? Where do judges get this from?
Like the philosophy, like morality, maybe?
Yeah, who are they citing? This goes back to our linear question. Which philosophy are they citing here? They cite anything? I read the
Not
opinion.
specifically, maybe just like a moral compass, like.
Their own moral compass? Oh, Maddie. Judges just base rulings on their own moral compass? Can they do that?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I guess they did. Right, so just to take a step back, and maybe you know this from other classes, the New Jersey Supreme Court, I don't want to say infamous, but they were known for just going far beyond where other courts went. This was a court guided by a moral compass that somehow spun towards Trenton, right? It's the capital of New Jersey, if you don't know. Or maybe the seaside if they're partying, right? Jersey thing, you understand. The jury, right? This was not adopted anywhere else to rule, this sort of case, because it's basically very fringe, right? Because the court is doing something very strange. Now, I want to take a step back. Courtney, do you think Tedesco wanted to litigate this case, the high court in land, the highest court in the state?
Absolutely not,
No, he did not. How do you know that?
because he's a farmer, he doesn't make too much money.
He didn't
Going
care.
that far and litigation would cost a lot of money.
Yeah, Courtney, one more question for you. Did the government, did the prosecutor actually want to push this case to the highest court in the state?
Maybe not the prosecutor, but perhaps the legal counsel that came to help the migrants.
Oh, no, they were. They wanted to push this case. I'm talking about the actual state in charge with enforcing prosecutions for trespass. Did they actually want to push this case?
Probably not.
Who actually wanted this case to the high court? Did anyone?
The counsel for the migrants.
I know they did, but did anyone actually want to defend the judgment, defend the trespass law here?
No.
So why was this case even in the court? If no one wanted to push this case, why wasn't it just dismissed?
Because it was still a good law and still.
But Courtney, sorry, I said there was one more question. I lied. But Courtney, how can a court hear a case where one side doesn't want to prosecute it anymore? Wouldn't the answer be just dismiss the prosecution and go home?
Because then that would contradict what's actually in the law.
No, but how do you have a case where the prosecutor says, I will not defend the judgment below? Is that the case over? That there's no third, whatever citation was imposed upon on Shack and Tedesco or Harris is just waived?
No. I feel like that would be a very good argument.
Tatiana, how do you have a case where there's no adversity?
Like, maybe the court doesn't have a question that needs to be answered.
So the court decided a question where the parties were not adverse. Did the court do that? Did the court just say, you know what? I realize the prosecutor doesn't want to enforce the finding, but we're going to decide it anyway. Did they do that? Apparently. That's any pattern. This case should have never been, right? So as a general rule, if the parties lack adversity, right, the prosecutor doesn't want to push the case anymore, the case is over. The case is dismissed. The New Jersey court actually appointed an amicus, basically a friend of the court, to help litigate it because the government wouldn't do it. Right, so this is what I'm talking about, the Jersey court. They took a very simple dispute that no one wanted to litigate anymore, and they used it as a vehicle to establish this broad right, this broad exception to the Trespass Statute. Again, this court's minority ruled. This is not majority. Don't try to apply it elsewhere. But they were very eager to push further. Yes, bang up.
So in this time period, wasn't this the same time period that migrant workers across the country were fighting for more rights? So
Yes,
it's
it was.
possible that they were just trying to set a precedent.
They were. They were. Absolutely, yeah, very, very good. Yeah, this was around the same time that there was a huge movement nationwide for the rights of workers. Cesar Chavez, yes, we can, right? This was a huge movement at the time. And the court, Ben's right, wants to set a precedent. Even if there's no actual real case, they want to set a precedent anyway. Right? They want to set a precedent that the rights of workers can prevail over the rights of the farmers. And in fact, the court says that this is a very disadvantaged segment of society. Excuse me. It says these workers are unorganized and they don't have economic or political power. They can't vote. And the only way they can get these services is on the farm. They cannot get them by just walking down to CVS, whatever. That's not a possibility. Okay. And the court says that Tedesco's right in his land may not stand between migrant workers and those who aid them. The court says all rights are relative. The right in property is not absolute. And the court found it unthinkable that the farm workers can assert a right to isolate the migrant workers in any respect significant for the workers' well-being. Tedesco could not deny the workers his privacy or interfere with the opportunity to live in dignity. Dignity. Lillian, what on earth is dignity? What's dignity? A little bit louder. It's hard to hear. I'm sorry. Self-respect. Give me an example of what dignity might be.
Well, in this case, someone needed healthcare, and I would say dignity, like everyone's afforded the dignity of having healthcare.
Okay. Alex, what's dignity?
Like the quality of being worthy.
The quality of what?
Being worthy.
Worthy of what?
Respect.
What's respect? People hate when I do this. I'm sorry.
Acknowledging other people's rights.
And where do these rights come from? Moral compass?
Yeah, just like the moral right that God is entitled
Okay, Amar, help us out here. What's dignity?
I would think that dignity is something that, like, you're treated fair, but fairness is on a spectrum. necessarily.
Fairness on a spectrum, okay. And where does the spectrum come from?
I mean, it depends. So if we're talking about fairness in the court of law, it's created by a judge who has his moral compass, but
Well, okay, you're gonna follow up question, I'm sorry. Are judges supposed to decide cases based on their own moral compass? This is Maddie's point a few minutes ago.
no, but they do.
What are judges supposed to decide cases based on?
The law created by the legislature.
And does the legislature say here's what dignity is?
No.
That's right, Lillian and Alex are having such a tough time. This concept of dignity is not defined in a statute, right? There's no restatement second of dignity, right? It's not a thing. But courts often invoke it, and I think Alex and Lillian were giving me, I think, very good definitions of it, to refer to certain things that people have, right? Certain rights, certain aspects of fairness that you need certain things because of by virtue of the fact that you're a human being. Here's what you're entitled to. Now, maybe it's healthcare, maybe something else, or this. These are not clear concepts, right? But the court invokes dignity as a way to say that this healthcare, this legal services was essential to the person, and they needed it. It is very much a moral idea, a religious idea also. In faith, you often talk about a person's dignity, that they have a certain well-being by virtue of existence of what they have. Okay? All right, so Sean, let me ask you a question. So what actually is the holding? We're talking about this love and stuff like dignity and well-being and fairness and moral compasses and stuff. What actually is the holding of this case? Correct. That's the judgment. I'm asking what the holding is. You're absolutely right. That's what the order of the court was. What you have to write. The holding of this case is X. What's the holding of the case?
That they should be allowed to have visitors from the Canadian aid.
Sure. So let's apply this rule to a different case, right? Are workers allowed in all contexts? Let's apply this rule to a different case, right? When are workers allowed to enter a farm? Whenever they want, however long they want. Yeah.
Well, in this case, they have to stay on the farm.
How long were they allowed into the property for, Sean?
Just the season.
The entire season, 24/7. So what's actually the holding? Trespass is a crime except X, right? What's X? What's the exception to trespass here? Holden, what's actually the holding of this case? What's holding, right? What's the holding of the case?
Like the workers' rights of privacy and their like opportunity to receive like public assistance outweighs.
In every case?
I think in this case specifically, I'd say this is like an anomaly.
So if I'm a farmer, how do I know whether I'm, allowed to use a trespass law or not?
I'd say you assess the situation. And
Assess the situation, huh?
like if it's a job situation versus
Yeah, so what if they're driving a truck across my land to, I don't know, deliver some aid equipment? I don't know.
then I would look to see why they're doing it as opposed to like using a different route.
All right. Margaret, let me ask you a harder question. What if I'm an aid worker and I'm like, you know what? It's so time consuming to walk around the farm back and forth. I'm just going to open a shack, right? A literal shack on the farm where I provide medical aid 24/7. And that's my job. I'm going to just open up a shack on this guy's farm and give medical aid 24 hours a day. Can you do that? Can you just literally live on his farm to give medical aid? It's the part to push
It
you.
goes back to the point about adverse possession. So on one hand, it kind of corresponds with the shack case, the actual shack case, and how people are or should be.
Okay, so short of adverse possession. Let's say he goes in the property 364 days a year, right? So one day a year he just takes off. So forget adverse possession. Forget it. That's not continuous. Can you open up a shack just for 4 months at a time during the strawberry season. To provide medical aid if anyone needs an injury in the middle of the day.
On someone else's property?
Yeah, on Tedesco's farm. He just opened up a shack. A shack. Sorry. I just made that up.
Probably not, but I guess it.
But why not? Why not? Why wouldn't that be consistent with the courts saying we elevate human dignity over property rights? People getting injured on the farm, the quicker you treat an injury, the easier it heals. We all know that, right? If they can't leave to go to an ambulance, they can do stitches, they can do sutures, they can do, you break a bone, put a cast on it.
I guess 2 points, like Mark Holden said, it would kind of depend on the court.
I'm asking you, would the New Jersey court approve setting up a shack, right, with medical treatment?
Possibly if there was a nonprofit or government.
Yeah, it's not profit, free service, no money changing hands.
They might, especially during this time, this is like before NAFTA, so there's a lot.
Before NAFTA, what does NAFTA do with this?
Well, that, like around that time, like immigration changed a lot, so, like at that time, there was kind of a change in visas and how migrant workers were approved, so, like, this is 1971, so like during this case, like you said, they're making a statement, so if it were during 1971, they may have a lot of that, and so there's a lot of injustice going on, and this community, this was a heavy farming, migrant workers, so they're coming in every single season. So maybe they would have allowed that just because of how the flow was going.
All right.
It's happening every year.
All right. So Paige, what do you think? Shack, right? Can you open a medical shack inside there for 7 days a week for 4 months at a time?
I think it's in the owner's best interest because he
Oh.
allowed these people to come and work for him to help him, with his problem.
What about if the aid organization sent people to actually live in the dormitories to help clean the dormitories during the day? What if the aid workers actually stood on the farm and had a little notebook and wrote down every time that the farmer was abusive towards the workers? What about a video camera, just filming every minute of farm labor, trying to find potential violations of labor codes? What about sitting at Tedesco's dinner table and lecturing him on why farm workers deserve dignity? Why not? It raises dignity, it elevates human rights. Yeah, but this guy's a jerk. He's treating his workers like not even human, like they're animals. All right. You get the picture, right? So, like, unfair question to Sean and Holding, right? The holding in this case is actually very unclear, right? I don't know what the rule actually is. We know that the plaintiffs, that Shaq wins this case, right? We all know that, right? And it says Harrison Shaq may enter the farm to seek out the workers, and that the farmer cannot bar access to these government services. But exactly where that line is, the court does not say. All right, so I'm just curious. I'll do the same poll again. I want to see if you change your mind, right? Let's do question 4. I'm curious. I don't know. Maybe they know change your mind. Do you agree with majority opinion, Shaq? 20 seconds. Let's talk too much. Okay, another 5 seconds. Okay. All right. Question 5. Do you agree with the majority in Shaq? Okay, another 5 seconds or so. All right, I think that's everyone. Let's see. Results are exactly. Oh, that's a question. Oh, wow. They shifted a bit. Look, so before they were at 90-20, and now they're about 80-20. 90-10, now about 80-20. So about 10 of you actually changed your mind. Anyone who changed your mind, want to just raise your hand and just maybe volunteer why? And nothing wrong with changing your mind. We're allowed to change your mind. Yeah, go ahead.
Out of fear and reading things like rights are relative and what saying something like that may lead to in future cases.
So you're with New Jersey court, but then now you're against New Jersey court.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else change your mind? Yeah, do that.
So I changed my mind on, Jack's.
The first one, okay, the shell case.
Because at first I was thinking, yeah, property's an absolute right, but I never thought about it as a necessity case. I never thought about the fact that there was, because I'm not a farmer and I've never lived in the snow. I didn't think about the fact that it would be unsafe for them to travel through the road.
Anyone else change your opinion? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
For Shaq, I agree with the outcome, but I disagree with the rationale that led to it.
So you were with the Jersey court, but they decided you couldn't stand behind the rationale?
I don't agree with the rationale. I think that it really, I would have approached it more as the fact that I would assume that the laborers are pretty much, they're renters. It's like you're renting an apartment or anything else. Your property owner can't tell you that you can't invite a friend over.
Well, they kind of
To
can.
an extent, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah, they
if
can.
they were going to say, we're going to come into the dormitories and then we're also going to tour the work facilities, I disagree. But when it comes to like being able just to invite an attorney over into a dormitory, I would almost say you should have there should be a right almost as a leasee to be able to
Okay.
invite someone into the property.
All right, maybe one more? Anyone change your mind? All right, very good. This actually is what I like to see, people sort of shifting the mind, means you're thinking, which is always good. Let me sort of just summarize and bring everything together. The sort of themes we have in these cases will recur over and over again, right? What exactly is this right to exclude? And what are competing values the court can consider in saying, well, we're not going to do this, right? So the court in the first case said, forget the tractor trailer company. This right to exclude is very important. If we don't enforce it, it's meaningless. And the second case said, well, you invite these people onto your land, you can't keep them away from aid workers, especially in light of those circumstances. But I think a lot of you maybe shifted your minds a bit. Great. Questions? All right, I'll turn on the exit polling. If you have any questions, come up and ask me. But I always read those questions, please put them in. Thank you so much. I will see you in class on Thursday. And unless there's snow, which is we have zero probably. Thank you.